Welcome to all of you as we begin week number 7 in our continuing study of Shabbat. This week we will be concentrating on chapter 6 in Rabbi Malamed's book called The Laws of Kiddush, and you can find the relevant material for this week's discussion on pages 95 to 113 in your text. Most of what we will talk about this week, or in fact, all of what we talk about this week, will be centered on the ceremony of Kiddush. I assume that many of you, if not all of you, know what Kiddush is, but in order to describe the material for you, I'm going to go through a brief description of the basis, the nature of the word kadosh, the word that we use for Kiddush and Kaddish and Kiddushin and many other kinds of words. I'm going to describe the meaning of the word Kadash or Kadosh, and this will perhaps help you better understand the material that we will be discussing on Wednesday evening. First of all, the Hebrew word Kadash, Kuf Daled Shin, is a three-letter root that has the following meanings. The word Kodesh means sacred, it means holy. It actually comes from the Hebrew root, which means something which is set apart. Something which we set apart, we distinguish from everything else, is holy. Something which we set apart is something that is sacred or special. And so the term that we use for welcoming the Friday night service on Shabbat, for welcoming in Shabbat day, is the word Kiddush. It is a word which means to sanctify or to make holy. Now, Kiddush, of course, is a blessing. It is a blessing recited traditionally over wine, usually performed by the head of a Jewish household, although other people can participate in it as well. And Kiddush is usually performed at the beginning of a Shabbat meal. And I'm saying Shabbat because we're talking about Shabbat, but the laws of Kiddush that I refer to here would equally apply to the Jewish holidays. So Kiddush is a prayer recited over wine that is recited at a meal or at the meals which are partaken of during the course of Shabbat. Now, a word that is related to Kiddush that you probably also know is the word Kaddish. Okay, if you have come to services, you know that in the course of a Jewish service, there are several points in the service where we say different kinds of Kaddish. We say a half Kaddish called a Chatzi Kaddish, or we may say a full Kaddish, which is called Kaddish Shalem. We may say a Kaddish which is applicable to mourners, which is called Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. And there is even a form of Kaddish that is recited at the burial of an individual, which is called the burial Kaddish. What the Kaddish in each of these different forms has in common, it is a hymn of praise about God, which is found during the course of the Jewish prayer service. And usually, whenever you see the Kaddish, its theme is always the same. The purpose of the Kaddish is to magnify and to sanctify God's great name. And the different forms of Kaddish that appear in the service, which we recite at different times in the service, serve to separate the service into its various parts. You'll remember I told you that Kaddish means separation. The different kinds of Kaddish separate the different sections of the services in which they are found. So once again, Kaddish, which is a prayer of sanctification, also separates and divides the service into its various parts. There is one more term that I want to refer to. The Jewish word for marriage ceremony in Hebrew is called Kiddushin. When we celebrate Kiddushin, it is an arrangement or a contract or a ceremony in which a man and a woman mutually promise to marry one another. And once again, the idea of separation, the man separates the woman from all other men, and the woman distinguishes the man so that only the bride and the groom will enter into this special relationship to each other. The Kiddushin ceremony separates, consecrates a husband and a wife so that they are unique and special one to the other. Now, these are the various terms that are referred to in the discussion, in the material that you will find in chapter number 7. I'm sorry, chapter number 6. The questions that I have for you now, which I will send to you, are all related to the material that you will be reading. And you can find it sequentially as you read the material. So as you go through the material and you find the answers to these questions, be sure to jot them down. There are 6 questions, and these are they. Question number 1, why is the Kiddush prayer recited on Shabbat? In other words, what is the reason for formally introducing the Shabbat, for formally sanctifying the Shabbat by saying the prayer, the blessing that we know as the Kiddush? Why is it that prayer which inaugurates and designates the Sabbath day? Question number 2. How many times during the Sabbath day is the Kiddush prayer recited? Okay, I'm not going to tell you. You'll see in the material. It is more than once, I will tell you that. How many times in the Sabbath day is the Kiddush prayer, the Kiddush blessings recited? Question number 3. The Kiddush is made up of different parts. How many parts does the Kiddush prayer consist of? How many blessings are included in our recital of the Kiddush whenever it is recited? Question 4. I told you that it is traditional to recite the Kiddush just prior to the start of a Shabbat meal. Question 4. Why is the Kiddush prayer said just before sitting down to eat our Sabbath meal? Question 5. Must the Kiddush be said over a cup of wine? And this is in the normal situation. But is it possible, if for whatever reason one cannot drink wine or does not have wine available, is it possible to recite the prayer sanctifying the Sabbath day over something else other than wine? That is question number 5. And finally, question number 6. Who recites the Kiddush prayer? And who may drink from the wine in the cup over which the Kiddush prayer is recited? Now, there are different customs. You'll see that there are different traditions. But I want you to look at the question of who is required to recite the blessing, who is required to drink of the cup, and then who, in addition, may either join in saying the blessings of the Kiddush or in drinking from the Kiddush wine. There are obviously many more questions or issues that are addressed in this week's discussion, but those are the major questions that I would like you to consider. I look forward to doing all of that with you in our discussion this coming Wednesday evening. In the meantime, may I wish you and your families a Shabbat Shalom. May you enjoy your Kiddush and your Sabbath this weekend. Thank you.